College of DuPage is where I got my GED when I was 19, and it's just, I had grown up around it because I grew up in the area, and so I got my GED with the plan of eventually, coming back to get my degree, and then life happened, After I got my GED, I tried to go to college in another state for one semester, and then got a call that my dad's kidneys were failing. And, that just changes everything, a call like that. That's life. That's that life piece that happens. And they tested me and we were a perfect match. So instead of continuing to do the whole college thing and the higher education thing, at 19, I gave my dad a kidney. And that just set me on a whole different path. I'm very happy to say that my dad, who is 75, is still here, and that was 30 years ago, and that kidney is still doing its job. And then I met my husband at the time and started a family, and then just before you know it, all of those well-laid plans change. When I decided that maybe, the kids were growing up and we were at the brink of an empty nest, right? So when you're in the middle of it, you think, oh, these years are never going to end. I'm going to be a mom forever. It just doesn't ever feel like it's one of those things that's going to, come to a conclusion and then you're going to move on to the next phase. So then when I saw those chapters closing, the questions I asked myself were, now what? Who do I want to become after this, time? And how do I want to show up in the world? And I didn't have answers to any of those questions. It was almost like a midlife crisis, as in, who am I going to be going forward? And I hadn't really thought that far ahead. I just was trying to do the mom thing. And so I went backpacking. I didn't know what else to do with myself. So I went backpacking in 2016 on the Appalachian Trail, St. John's Ledges in Connecticut. And it was out there by myself in the woods with my backpack on that I thought, if I can do something crazy like go backpacking, maybe I should consider going back to college. I kept that promise to myself. I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for it. I didn't have all the details worked out. I just know that on the Appalachian Trail, I decided I'm going to go back to college. And I knew that COD was kind of like my starting point, and that just made sense to me, College of DuPage, and start over. Let's just press that restart and let's try again. Just made sense to me. And when I came back into the atrium for the first time and I walked into admissions and I thought, I don't know how to do this, but I just walked up. I said, I don't know if you still have my file from like 100 years ago, but I used to be a student here. And I was shocked to find out that my student record was still there. And she's like, oh, Bonnie Bailey. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it was meant to be. And I just remembered feeling so excited, and butterflies and oh my goodness, could I really, really do this? So finally, I was able to work out kind of my next steps forward, and by the fall of 2017, I was ready and I registered for 2 classes, and I had, grand illusions of just, I was like, I'm a smart girl, I can figure this out. What I didn't understand or the missing piece was that while I had been raising my kids, the technological landscape had changed and student life was not the way it was 20 years ago. So I grappled with that, and it wasn't easy. And I have to say that trying to work my way to balance work and student life in this era was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And that's after giving a kidney and raising kids. It was still hard to balance all of that. And I fell down, and it wasn't the smooth, sailing thing that I had hoped for. I had quit, and then I decided to try again, and the COD staff person had encouraged me, and it was on my way to a humanities class, and as I was coming down the hallway, I paused by the window of Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, and I stood there looking at that window, and that was where I had my pivotal moment where I realized I didn't just want to be a student, I wanted to be a great student. And I had dropped a handful of classes, which had put me on academic suspension, which I was not proud of. In order to become the student I wanted to be, the great student I wanted to be, I would have to face my failures, and I was going to have to ask for help. So I made a promise to myself that no matter how long it took, I was going to become a Phi Theta Kappa honor student. So with that newfound goal, I went on to my humanities class. Outside the door, I squared my shoulders and gathered my courage, and then I walked in with my cell phone above my head and I said, "Hi, my name is Bonnie. I'm old enough to be mom to probably all of you. This technology thing, I can't do it by myself. I need help." They were like, "Come here, come on, Mama, you sit right here." And they made a space for me to sit right there. And they just helped me that entire semester. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was able to assimilate more information faster as a student, and that was the pivotal moment. It took me 2 years to go and face all those failed classes and do them over. And in 2019, I got the acceptance email that I had been accepted into Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, and I had brought my GPA up to a 4.0. I am telling you, I could not have done that if it had not been for my classmates. And in that class, that semester, I became mom to most of those classmates, and I loved every minute of it. And I am still connected to some of those classmates today, and we just formed a bond that semester that I will never forget. And I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation today if it wasn't for them.